Hey friends, we're looking at Georgia O'Keeffe. Can you say O'Keeffe? O'Keeffe. She was the first artist who got famous for macro photography, but it wasn't even a thing back then. And here's some different of my students, Georgia O'Keeffe's that they liked. What macro photography is? Let's look at that next. Macro photography. Can you say macro photography? It's photography producing photographs of small items larger than life size. So there's famous macro photographers. One got famous for the coffee being close up, and that's Mrs. Smith's macro photography. And my photography class last year had some macro photography assignments. It looked really cool. So some of them got really close to basketballs, plants. That was my example. So my photography students, she liked cars. Wasn't that close. I told her to get zoomed into a bumper. They got to get close up. I like the turtle close up. It's where you zoom in and you have things go right over the edge. And that's what O'Keeffe got famous for and what we're looking at today. Inspiration by George O'Keeffe. Let's do a replica. A replica is a copy. Ooh, do you like her morning glories poppy? Or do you want to do a leaf close up? So we're going to get your paper and we're going to do something really close. I'm looking at her poppies, her world famous poppies. See how it has dark in the middle and comes out? We're going to do dark in the middle and come right out with one of the petals. Over and in. What I'm doing is I'm looking at O'Keeffe's world famous petals. I'm going to go one petal at a time with you. Second one starts here. All right, the second one is overlap. So you see I didn't do it. I'm going to overlap, come up, curve, and down and in. So we're doing really big, larger than life, zoomed in. All right, now this petal, look at it again, comes around like and curves. All right, so that's a part of this petal. So attach it there, right, and come around, curve it down, and it hides behind here, okay? So this is where you can see she gets zoomed into her dark and light shading. We're gonna continue going right off the edge with the petals. Now if your flower is too small, let's do some shading in here. Here's her pistons. That's usually the name. Stay in the lines, and it's really big for a poppy, and it's circular. So we're gonna do a little shading in there, and then going up around the contour of the flower. If you're using pencil, it's probably easier to shade. I think it's easier for you guys to see on my videos if I do a little gesture drawing, little wiggly lines around the curve or contour, and do some pen shading like I'm showing you here. And your darker shadow would be what? Underneath. So follow along, do a little, make your edges crisp if you go out of the lines like I just did. And you could do circularization, cross-hatching, or just line or stippling, or all your techniques for shading. And I'm trying to use all of them. Ooh, if you go out of the line, make your edges crisp by defining your edges and going over them. All right, so that's how we're working right now with light to dark. Look at her flower again, and now we're gonna go boom right off the page, all right? So I see where she attaches it right here, and she starts with some wiggly lines and then goes up and all the way down. But you can't see it because she's got another petal overlapping. So that's why I'm taking you step by step through an O'Keeffe flower. Okay, we're gonna curve down and up and off the page. Okay, that's that curve right there. Down, up, and off the page. All right, so your next one from that, she curves down and has the edge of her flower, and then the other edge of this petal is coming in. See, that's one petal we just made there. And there on the O'Keeffe that we're doing the replica is that one petal there. So you got to keep going. Now it's time to tuck this petal in. And I see she has another one back here. And all the shading goes usually under where there's an overlap. And the flower petals all come all the way down. And they meet in the center of the flower. Okay, so that's your line all the way to the center. And your shading is going to be under the petal. All right, so we did one half of a flower, O'Keeffe style. We got one more half, and we got the bottom of it coming right off the page. She's got kind of like Van Gogh, where it grows, to some leaves, to the body of the flower where it bloomed, and she's got it come right off the page, the stem of the flower. I'm gonna add a little shading on there on one side, a little shading under there. We just did the stem of the flower, and her next petal, she has one just like Van Gogh has the sunflowers come right down. We have this one coming right down and off the page. Boom. And then we got another one here. curves up. Oops, that one's actually on the page. And the end of that flower, though, comes up here and attaches. It's like a little bent edge I think she has on hers. Let's look at hers again. Okay, see that little bent edge right there? And then it comes in. All right, let's just do this fluff part and let's get done with our flower. Right here in the back. Come in like a ribbon down and off the page, right? Off and off the page. And this, you can see I went out of line. What am I going to do? I'm not going to stay out of the lines. I'm going to use my pen. If I'm a pencil, I could erase. And I'm going to make my edges crisp by defining your edges. Add my little bit of shading here and spend some time on shading. I suggest you can do circularization like I'm doing with my pen, with pencil, and just slow down, get really good at shading. Would be a great way to do an O'Keeffe replica. Some of my students like using pastels, some like using watercolors. I'm gonna get you do what your favorite technique is. Don't forget to sign your O'Keeffe, and we're gonna be looking at nature up close and zooming right in like O'Keeffe did for her replicas. Over now.